All right, here it is, long awaited. This is something I've been really, really excited about, and it's almost underwhelming doing it alone, but I also think that it's like my element doing it alone. If you're on the video version of this, it's probably hilarious because you realize I'm in my closet, but that's reality, man. I think a lot of people come out with like new ideas, and so much of it is like poserish of, oh, they're coming out with a podcast and they got this whole studio and they invest all this into it, and it turns out they have nothing to say. And like, not a jab at anyone, but I think that it's vitally more important that I know I have things to say rather than, oh, I got a nice ass studio and I got the best mic on the thing and I got the best camera on the thing. And so I think what's most important as I attack this podcast is just that I have something to say. And I do. I think that the title of this podcast is exactly what you can expect from it. And this first episode is just, I want you to understand what you can expect from it as you click the next episode. And it's that you are going to leave better than you were before. And I think that the only way that you can do that is to make the things I talk about a little bit more applicable and understand that I'm not coming from like some omnipresent, like celestial motive, like, oh yeah, I'm so emotionally intelligent and I have no fucking problems in my life and blah, 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 blah. And you'll never find that. And if you sense arrogance in what I'm saying, it's simply because I may be stepping out of the line that I try to follow myself. And so I think that this podcast is going to be so much of like growth for everyone. Like, I'm here to grow. The more I talk about it, you grow. And it's so funny. Like, you can read a book. Like, I've read the 4 Agreements. I've read, Miracles of Mindfulness, 48 Laws of Power. And like, if I walk away from those teachings and I never even try to apply the things as I read them, or if I never reference back to them, like, I'll never see any success in the topic. And I think one thing that's made me different and what's allowed me to find success in a different capacity than most people. Obviously, I'm starting a podcast, and not your everyday person on the side of the street does that. I guess maybe nowadays they do, but what's allowed me is like, I'll come back to the lessons and I'll try to reference them. I'll try to teach others. I'll try to share my learnings. And so I think what's important to know is, like, as you listen to this podcast, one, I can promise you that you'll leave better than before. And I can promise you that as long as you sit here and you stay tuned and you come for the next episode, like, you're going to find yourself re-correlating the idea from the last episode or from 3 episodes ago, or yeah. And then, more importantly, I think that I don't want you to ever think that you're coming here to like fucking, this isn't like a Jen Sincero, shout out to her, I love her, but this isn't a You Are a Badass book. This isn't The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck book, which I've actually never read that. So maybe it is, but it's not one of those. It's simply, I have a few ideas that I want to share with the world. And I think I see a multitude of people struggling with the same thing. And like, my leap into fatherhood is what really showed me that. And like, the relatability of so many people saying like, oh my God, like, I feel that, or the way you do that makes sense to me, or whatever it may be. And I'm like, damn, bro, it's like, it's more than just me out there. And it's more than just me struggling. And I think they call it Sonder, when like you look out at the world and you see that everybody individually has a life. I think the word for that is Sonder. And it's like, when you realize that aspect, that all of these people have their own lives, their own problems, you fail to realize how many of them are similar to what you're going through. And so I really, really, really like the idea of finding relatability in someone that is like raw. And a good example, I know a big creator, and the more I talk to him and the more I interact with him, the more I see he's just like a human. And I'm like, wow, that helps me, because I wonder how many people are going through the same thing. If me and him are going through the same thing, what does that put my next door neighbor at? And it's just kind of like this weird realization that like, all of us are likely facing the same struggles, or we have in different parts of our life. Like, I always like to think and say, like, this timeline that we're on, right? It's so relative to you, and like, where you might find struggle with grief here, this person might find struggle with grief here, and you guys might meet up here, which means both of you can talk about it, right? Or you might meet up here, which means they haven't went through it yet, but you can tell them about it and they're soon to go through it, and you'll grow. And so I hope when you come to this podcast and you listen, it's like you find an idea you'll relate to, or you just kind of tag on to something like, damn, like I know my best friend has been through that. And then you find yourself going through it later, like having a child, right? A lot of people don't have kids my age group. I'm 25, and I know that when they cross that bridge, like I tell Rachel, my next Instagram caption is going to be, when you get your girl pregnant, you got to come see me because you got to come see me. I'll help you, man. I'll get you right. And so, yeah, I think I really want this podcast to be a safe place for everybody to go. I want you to come here and be like, damn, like that's someone I can lean on. Ricky's my fucking therapist outside of therapy. I'm always in my DMs. I'm always looking out. Hey, how can I help you? Hey, what's your individual problem? I meet people out all the time. They're like, bro, I watch all your TikToks. I watch all your Instagram reels. I watch your YouTube videos, whatever it is. And I'm like, oh, what's up, dog? Like, what stage of baby are you in? Because most of the time it's about fatherhood and baby. But I always try to relate the lesson back to something that's completely what might seem abstract. And that's what I want you to get from this podcast is like, this may seem abstract when I first bring it up to you, but it's absolutely not. And so what I mean by that is I just met this kid at Costco. His name's Noah. Shout out Noah. I remember you and I remember your name, but he came up to me. He's like, I watch all your videos. You know, my girl works in the food department. Our baby's 6 months old. It's his screensaver. I know he loves his son. And he shows me and he's like, I'm going through teething right now. And I'm like, oh, these are the teething drops, blah, blah, blah. That totally makes sense. But the more abstract idea that I wanted to point him to too is I'm like, hey man, take a moment of mindfulness every day to like, we just got to be grateful that we are able to meet inside of Costco and we are able to, you know, stock our fridge up with food. And it's awesome that you work close to your girl, but don't let work get in the way of all the struggles you might find while your baby's teething and stressing you guys out. Like, remember to keep work life, home life separate. And hey, do me a favor, read the book Miracles of Mindfulness and just enjoy the moment that you're in. Even when you leave here, don't think so much, oh my God, work was so great because I got to meet this creator I know. Leave work and be like, damn, work was so great because I got the opportunity to serve people. And now as I move on to my next thing, like I'm not dreading tomorrow, but I'm also not trying to get through what I'm doing right now just to make it to tomorrow. And so anyway, I think that abstract ideas are really, really important when it comes to how you grow as a person and how you correlate things to your life. And the more I talk about it, the more I realize that so many people are trying to find the answer to their issues, like directly in the issue itself. And so like, hey, you know, me and my girl are having a baby. We're really nervous about it. How do I get over the nerves of having a baby? And I'm like, shit, bro, that's not really going to change. What you need to do is you need to become more confident in yourself that you can overcome obstacles. And so like, that, although it isn't abstract, that's probably the wrong word. It's just like the broader idea. And those are kind of the things I want to talk about on this podcast. And the first episode is going to be really exciting. This is the first episode, but the real first episode, topic wise, is going to be exciting. It's just going to be about, you know, how you battle family traditions. And, you know, one popular Hispanic family tradition is to shave your baby's head, right? And so you may not want to shave your baby's head when you have a baby. So how do we battle that as parents? So many people give me shit about the way I am with Laguna. And there's that common term, helicopter parent. And I truly don't believe I'm one of them. But like, I know a parent, she didn't let her son have any sugar until he was 2 years old, right? Not a fucking single little bite of anything, right? And so this gets a lot of notions of like, oh, you're a helicopter parent, you're so controlling, blah, 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 blah. How do you battle that? How do you set the tone with your family? Because you still want them involved and you don't want to, it's hard to have that perception against you. And some people are going to tell you, oh, I don't give a fuck. Like you could think what you want of me. But really when they lay down in bed at night, they don't like all the judgment. No one likes all the judgment. And so that first episode is going to be exciting. And yeah, honestly, I want to get right to it. I just want you to expect from this podcast that you'll start to listen. Hopefully you enjoy my voice. You'll enjoy the things we talk about. It'll grow in topic, in conversation. And I think it'll be something that everyone gets really excited about. But one thing I can promise you is you're definitely going to leave better than you were before. Whether it's because you never want to hear my voice again and you're like, oh, I'll never take his advice. Or because you're like, damn, I really attach to something. Ricky's been through a lot and that fool knows what he's talking about. And so anyway, this spins. I hope you enjoy it. And I'll see you in the next episode of Better Than Before.